Hello everyone and welcome to the mini Gorjuss art layout for the month of April. Today I am using this little stamp. It's called The Dreamer number 58, and I chose this one because it is the season of autumn here in Australia, and this cute little fox just reminded me of autumn and a beautiful autumn walk in the forest. And so I decided that I wanted to build a forest scene where this little girl finds a little fox that just latches onto her and wants her to take him home. I'm going to start off with my Tim Holtz platform. Now, the left-hand side of my book is a little bit thinner than the right-hand side of my book, so I try really hard to get a good impression, and it works really well here. I then decided to go for this stamp set by Stampin' Up! Called Thoughtful Branches. I bought this thing like maybe 2 years ago and I loved it. I used it so much when I first bought it, and then I never used it. And so I decided it was time to pull it out and try to use it to create a beautiful autumn scene. What I also did was I stamped out the girl and fussy cut it out from just normal copier paper, and I'm just placing that mask on top of her so that I'm able to stamp it and make it seem like the scene is around her and that she just naturally exists in that scene. Whereas the Gorjuss rubber stamp made a really nice imprint in my art journal, these clear ones really don't go down that well. So I sort of decide to go with it, but I will go in a little bit later and I try to fix up some of these stamping images that didn't print very well. I decided to finish them off with my own stamping block, and once again, not the greatest here, and I'm not sure what's going on. I think I might have to wash my stamp or prime it or something like that. I also bring the tree line just a little bit lower to make it seem like there are more trees in the distance. This stamp set also has like a hill kind of stamp, so I use gathered twigs to make hills in the background. And this stamp set also has grass, and so I use my mowed lawn to create some grass in the foreground. Now it's time to start inking the background. I start off with mowed lawn. I'm just applying some ink here with some cut and dry foam, and at first I'm just putting on a nice thick layer of ink in a circular motion, and then what I end up doing is I use like a swiping, so from the bottom of the page up towards the page, and I know I'm working backwards here, but I want to make it seem like it's more dark at the bottom and then it gets lighter at the top. And then I grab gathered twigs and I'm just inking in a browny kind of like leaf fallen background. I then grabbed carved pumpkin and I'm going to create a little bit of an orange haze in the background. Now this can be totally up to you. This could be a whole lot of brown bushes, it could be the sunset, it could be whatever you interpret it to be. I do decide to put a little bit of red, but I actually don't like it, so after this I blend it in really nicely. I think this is abandoned coral, and I go back in with fossilized amber and I just smooth it out and blend it into the sky. For my sky, I use tumbled glass, and I do the same thing that I did with the grass, just doing a whole lot of heavier on the top and then swiping it down into the yellow, making sure it doesn't touch because I don't want any green in there. Now I have the stencil, and it's called Mini Mountain View, I think. And what I thought is I wanted to have a little bit of a shadow in the background of like a tree line way, way, way back there. So I decided to tape off the part that I didn't want at the bottom and at the top, and then I go in with a little bit of light graphite or charcoal, really light gray, and I ink in a tree line in the distance. That works really well, and I love the effect that the stencil did. Then I decided to use some of the, I know that it's supposed to be a mountain range at the very top there, but I wanted to do a very light inking so that it gave kind of like a silhouette of clouds, and I really love how it looks there against the blue. I then grabbed Dusty Concord, and I just want to darken the edges to make it look more like a vignette and to invite the eye into the scene that I'm creating. Now it's time to remove the mask, and there she is. So I am now going to go in there with my Prima watercolors, and I am going to watercolor the girl and the fox. I'm going to start off with the fox first. He has a very light yellow to start off with, and then I go in with a little bit of brown, and I add some more color. Next comes the stump, and I use the same color at first just to get that overall color down, and then I use a darker mid-brown range, and then I go in with a darker brown yet again. I decide to give her some pink hair. I think this is so cute. It makes her stand out, and it makes her very whimsical. I love her. She is so cute. I actually don't have her in the large stamp, and I'm gonna rectify that really soon because she is a very cute little character. I also give her a beautiful blue dress. I think that combination of pink and blue is so gorgeous. My current favorite. A very light peach for her skin tone. She actually doesn't have much skin showing. She's just got her face and her little neck. I then make her stockings a combination of silver and blue. Her top hat gets this really dark blue color, which I love. And then I'm going to add some stripes to it, which just gives her such an Alice in a Wonderland kind of look. I totally love her. And she's also going to get a little silver sash around that hat, which matches her stockings and her collar. I then try to put those cheeks in, and I think I always forget that they go on really dark and they lighten up because they scare me, and I go back in and I take them away and I add more skin color. And then I think, whoa, where have the cheeks gone? So I try once again. I should just let it dry before I get too scared. So I go back in here with some of my watercolors and I try to patch up that dodgy stamping that I did in the beginning with all those trees. And trying to work really hard here on my perspective and making things look nearer and further away. I'm still working on that one, so please excuse me if this is out of perspective to some of you. I've always dreamed of making these build-a-scene cards and art journals, and I'm so happy that I'm confident to be at this stage. I then grab some brown and I'm just adding a little bit of feature to the bottom of each of the trees to make it look like it belongs to that floor and not just floating on that forest floor. I grab my white gel pen and I give her some dots on her dress and just darkening up her hair and adding some white highlights in her hair as well. Alright, so now it's time for the sentiment. I do go for my Tim Holtz sticker book, and hands down Tim Holtz sticker books are my favorite product this year. And I do find this wonderful sentiment that says, "Will you promise never to leave me?" And it just went so well with this adorable scene of this fox latching on to this little girl and just giving her the biggest hug, that I knew that this was the perfect sentiment for this layout. So there you go. That is my layout for April. I hope you have a wonderful month this April. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.